Hey, welcome back everyone. It is now early April of 2022, and we're only getting closer to many of the upcoming new Star Wars TV shows, such as the Obi-Wan Kenobi TV series, The Mandalorian Season 3, and yes, even the Andor series, as well as the Ahsoka Tano TV show. That's all being worked on at the same exact time as we speak. This is Mike Zero. Make sure to subscribe if you're new to the channel for future Star Wars updates. Also, by the way, guys, make sure to drop a thumbs up on this video to support the channel. I thank you all so very much for the kind support. It is greatly appreciated. Now, one thing about Disney Star Wars is that we do know that creators out there like Jon Favreau and Dave Filoni are working around the clock to really make sure that Disney is going to go back to its roots when it comes to the Star Wars universe. And that's exactly what they're doing with the Mandoverse, with other new Star Wars timelines that are being created as we know it. Jon and Dave really are trying to dedicate their lives to turning Star Wars back into exactly how the fans perceived the overall franchise. Easily, back in 2005 when Episode 3, Revenge of the Sith came out. So when you look at everything of what's happening right now, between George, Jon, and Dave, is that they really aren't having that hard time of all to create this balance between using Legends material, using the Disney canon Star Wars material, and combining that into one in order to really satisfy both hardcore, casual, and yes, even new Star Wars fans. Now that brings us, of course, to actor Pedro Pascal. Now we do know that Pedro Pascal has been creating a little bit of drama behind the scenes over at Lucasfilm, not just for Mando Season 4, but for a other Star Wars project, which we'll get into in just a second. Now, one thing about Mando Season 3 is that this is a project in particular that Pedro Pascal is said to actually progress as a character significantly by of course, Jon and Dave to show the fans exactly how he evolves. But when you look at everything related to what's been going on, with both Disney and Lucasfilm now focused on their new Star Wars projects, like Star Wars Ahsoka, and even The Mandalorian Season 3, creators Dave Filoni and Jon Favreau are also beginning to work on a host of new Star Wars shows that will be announced at Star Wars Celebration this year. Now, it's described, however, that recently many changes took place for one of the Star Wars projects that was set to feature Din Djarin, portrayed by actor Pedro Pascal, that he was recently fired from. This decision made by Chapek had a ton to do with not just Pedro's demands to have mostly face time in the series, without the helmet, but that Pascal was also having issues that he would have to work with actress Gina Carano for the new Star Wars show that is set to focus on BoK Tan. Now, it's described that currently Disney's higher-ups are in big discussions to bring back actress Gina Carano as Cara Dune for the BoK Tan-oriented series, and that these conversations are something that Pascal also had issues with when it came to the overall show, causing further drama. Now, so far, Carano is already planned to return for The Mandalorian Season 4 in 2023, and that the BoK Tan show, her return, is moving along in the talks, which further caused conflict with Pedro Pascal. Now, Pedro is said to also have some issues working with some of the actors that will be involved in the BoK Tan series. However, it's unclear exactly who. Now, let me just stop right there for 1 second. Now, this really doesn't come as a big surprise, because we already know that Pascal had some issues with some of the crew, not necessarily the cast of The Mandalorian, but some of the crew for The Mandalorian, most likely having to do with his suit and his helmet, or something around those lines. It's not quite clear yet, but Pedro seems to really cause a lot of drama behind the scenes, time and time again. And this is not anything new, really, with actors and/or actresses. This happens all the time in Hollywood, and Pedro is just one of the latest examples. Now, when you look at a show like The Mandalorian, this is Star Wars, and when you look at a show like the BoK Tan-oriented series, this is the Star Wars universe. I think that anybody should be proud to be a part of this, and really shouldn't find a need to really complain. If anything, just being in this alone is going to heighten your career in the film industry, without a doubt. So I don't really know what Pedro's problem is, but moving forward from all of this, alright? So, with, of course, all of this being involved, and how Pedro Pascal is said to also have some issues working with some of the actors that will be involved in the BoK Tan series, alright? This is where things begin to pick up a bit, is that Disney wanted nothing to do with Pascal's drama for a show that is set to be a mixture of both Mandalorian and Jedi lore, to excite both types of Star Wars fans. Pascal also was let go from the BoK Tan series given that he was asking for nearly $200,000 more per episode to be paid, as Disney wanted to actually pay Pascal less for the BoK Tan series in comparison to the Mandalorian show. Now, that kind of puts things into perspective of how much money Pascal is getting paid per episode for either Mandalorian Season 1 and 2 and 3 or other projects. Now, obviously when it comes to the Star Wars shows, actors and actresses are not quite paid as much as the big-time actors in blockbuster movies, for example. They're just not. Especially if they are, you know, new stories that are being made and such around those lines. I remember that Daisy Ridley for The Force Awakens, believe it or not, she didn't really make all that much money for the actual movie. You know, I don't even think she made $1 million, to be honest. You guys can go ahead and look that up. It might have been something like $800,000, $700,000. But when you look at everything related to Pedro Pascal, really going out of his way to saying that he wants $200,000 more per episode for the BoK Tan series, and how that caused a lot of problems behind the scenes, and ultimately that, of course, you know, left Disney with the intention to let him go, to fire him and keep him out of that show, and just focus on him being in Mando Season 4 and other Mandalorian-oriented spin-off shows. And that's another thing to really focus, is that there are going to be numerous Mandalorian-esque TV shows that's going to involve Pedro Pascal. So this is what ultimately led Disney to firing Pascal from this BoK Tan show. However, another major factor has to do with the fact that, of course, Pascal was very upset with how his character is going to be treated in the series. Disney is described to involve Din Djarin's weaknesses in the BoK Tan show for the franchise, however, no longer. Though they were going to explore his strengths, Disney was also going to set the focus on his weaknesses and how it's going to make sense to the fans. This is also something that Pedro was very upset over, and Mando, of course, as a whole, with Pedro demanding for his helmet to stay off in Mando Season 4, just like how he did in the BoK Tan series. It leaves open the possibility that Pedro could be let go from Mando Season 4, however that does not seem likely at this time. Pedro currently has some problems with Kathleen Kennedy as well for not allowing his requests to be made in the upcoming shows either, or standing up for himself. So that's another thing to really kind of put into the equation here, is that essentially what they were going to do in the BoK Tan show was that they were going to explore Din Djarin's weaknesses and how some Star Wars lore was going to make a lot of sense of how Din Djarin becomes a weak-ish character at some point in time. You got me, I don't know exactly what they had planned for that overall structure. As to why it would show Din Djarin's weaknesses, that's a big question open on the table for discussion. The BoK Tan series is still a ways off. It's said to not even drop until sometime in 24 anyways. But nonetheless, guys, it sounds like a very promising show. Even though that Din Djarin is no longer going to be involved in it, it is going to be a mixture of both Jedi and Mandalorian lore, catering to both fans that love aspects of the Force and the Mandalorians. And I think that's a very smart move on Disney and Lucasfilm's part to really kind of cater to those types of fans. You know, we're going to be learning about Tar Vizsla and a lot of other characters in this show. I mean, it's going to be a blast. So overall, guys, you know, drop a comment below. Let me know about all this in the comments, and if you guys did enjoy the content for today, make sure to drop a thumbs up on this video to support the channel. I thank you all so very much for the kind support, and I'll catch you guys next time.